the actual muscle. Isn't that right? Okay.
Yeah.
And so what we have here, guys, this is actually considered fat as well. You see all that fat right there? Okay. Adipose what? Connective tissue. And then what do we have that's deep to the adipose connective tissue? You have the what? Muscle. Okay. So, and then you remember AMP1? Is it, what are these things that's the washboard stomach? What's that? Rectus what? Rectus abdominis. Okay. Right? And so if you go deep to that, what was actually be on this side right here? What's lining the actual abdominal gap?
The visceral, the parietal, no?
Ah, parietal what?
Peritoneum.
Peritoneum. Oh, adding some stuff. Okay. So don't forget the serous membranes, okay? And the very important one for the digestive tract is called the peritoneum, right? And what actually, the part of the peritoneum that's around organs is the visceral one, right? But what's the part that's not around organs? The parietal peritoneum. Oh, got it? So parietal peritoneum is actually this. What I'm touching with my hand, right? It's lining the abdominal what? Cavity. Okay? And so when a surgeon cuts through the muscle, he cuts through the parietal peritoneum, now he's in what cavity?
The abdominal.
It's called, what did I say that serous membrane was called?
Peritoneum.
If he cuts through that layer, what's between the parietal layer and the visceral layer?
Peritoneum.
Visceral.
What's between?
Oh, the cavity.
The cavity itself.
Yeah.
I do want to make sure I reacquaint you with that AMP1 stuff. It's very important that you understand, especially a lot of future nurses here, that whenever the surgeon's dealing with an issue with the abdomen, he's got to cut through all these layers, okay? The skin, the adipose tissue, he knows he's there because what color is it?
Yellow.
And then he said, oh, now I see I have to cut through the muscle. Then he cuts through the parietal what? Peritoneum. And now he's in the what? Peritoneum. Call it what it is. Peritoneal cavity. Should he see a lot of blood in there?
No.
No. So if he sees blood, one of these organs are damaged. All right, and that's one of the first things they do in the ER. If there's a concern, it could be bleeding inside the body. He said, let me get in here to the peritoneal cavity and see if it's blood in there. Okay? All right, you sure about that? Let me repeat that, right?
Yes.
The surgeon cuts through the skin, adipose tissue, muscle, parietal peritoneum. Now he's in the what?
Peritoneum.
Should it be blood in there?
No.
Okay. So now he's in the peritoneal. Let's look at what we got here, right? This is what will look like everything that we've been talking about, right? So what's up here? Is this the digestive system up here? Well, one part. One part. What's the part that's up here? All right, if this is the actual, which is what they do with heart surgery, they cut right through the sternum, right? You open that up. Is that right? And now what's actually the sternum protecting? The what?
The heart.
The heart, okay. Now what's going to be right behind the heart is the what? The trachea, okay? This is the trachea here, okay? That's the trachea, okay? See that? And then what's going to be posterior to the trachea? The part of that digestive system called the what? So that pink tube right here, that pink is water, don't worry. The pink tube right behind the trachea is called the what? Esophagus. Okay. And then that esophagus is going to take all of that, what is it called, chyme or bolus?
Bolus.
Bolus all the way through to what? What is this structure here? Huh? This structure that's between the thoracic cavity and the abdominal cavity. It's a muscle. The diaphragm. So this is the diaphragm right here, and the esophagus.
Is it really that big?
Yeah. And it's a dome shape. You see, domes is going like
I
that.
remember that.
Okay, and so now we have our what? We have our actual diaphragm. What goes through it is the esophagus, but it's the exact same place where what's happening. Right where that diaphragm is, we're going to have the what?
Sphincter?
Well, that's
Yeah, the arm.
what should be right there. What is this right here?
The esophagus?
Okay, this is the esophagus above the diaphragm.
Above,
Okay? That pink guy that I was showing you, that's behind the trachea. And then when it goes through the diaphragm, now what is it? It's this guy here. What is he? The stomach.
Stomach.
Okay, so this is the stomach right here. Okay, this is the stomach, and it has that what? Curve shape here. Here's the curve shape. This is the lesser curvature, and then that's the more concave shape, and the more convex shape is the what? Is the actual what? And where's my my model? Huh?
You don't have
Do me a favor. Hold on one second. No, that's right here. So what we're seeing here is that what's right here is the diaphragm. This is the diaphragm. And so our esophagus goes right through that. But the diaphragm serves to be the place where what? It's between the what? The esophagus and the what? The stomach. So this is the more convex shaped portion of the stomach. Okay?
just the top part.
The convex shape. It's more lateral like that. See, that's how it's really sitting like. So this is the more convex part, and the more concave part is here.
That's the
So,
stomach.
so this is convex part, and this is the what?
Concave.
Okay. Now, what is it that, and I'm not cutting this one up now, but if we should cut the stomach, a nice coronal cut, then what's the lining of the stomach have that you can see?
The folds.
Those folds are called what? Rugae. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So that's what's interesting is that they are folds that don't stretch or anything. It's just that fold. So whenever the stomach has to do what? Stretch. Then now they come a little bit what? Smoother. Right? And then when it goes back to the stomach not having anything, and what's in the stomach, is it bolus or chyme?
Chyme.
There you go. When the stomach doesn't have much chyme in it anymore, now you get to see the folds again. Okay? So that's your rugae that's lining it. Okay? And don't forget, what's the actual tunica mucosa made of for the esophagus? It's called what? What's the tunica mucosa made of? First of all, what kind of tissue is it? Epithelial tissue lines things and covers things. So yeah, the lining, tunica mucosa is epithelium. Now, what's the difference between this epithelium lining the esophagus versus the stomach? Okay, so be specific. What's the actual epithelium called that lines the esophagus? Stratified squamous epithelium. And what's the one that lines the stomach? Simple columnar epithelium. What's easy about this is that that's it. Those are the two different types throughout the entire digestive tract. From your mouth to your what? Oropharynx, then laryngopharynx, down to the what? Actual esophagus. All of that is the what? Stratified squamous epithelium. Does it have keratin in it?
No.
That's different. This is what has keratin. So it's soft and delicate. All right? But now, as soon as the stomach starts, and all the way to the anus, the actual tunica mucosa is lined with what? Simple columnar epithelium. Okay? So, and that's what's going to be here. Don't forget about your glands you have there. Those cells that secrete things are called what cells? Yeah, they call glands. Well, because they secrete things. But what are they called specifically? Let me help you. Which one secretes pepsinogen?
No. Pepsinogen?
Pepsinogen? Which one?
The gas.
Are you sure? Are you sure? You're not sure? All right.
It is the gas.
Don't let anybody sway you, okay? You know everything. So chief cells secrete the pepsinogen. All right. What does our parietal cells secrete? That's the next thing. So that's where it gets the acid from. So don't forget, yeah. So what stimulates that is your nervous system, parasympathetic nervous system, right? Okay? Because what's controlling out of the two systems that you can't control, which is sympathetic and parasympathetic, which one is dominating the digestive system activity? Parasympathetic. So that's the one that's the relaxed one. No stress in that system, right? So when should you be like when you're on the toilet? No stress. So that's the parasympathetic dominant. It's not that parasympathetic doesn't do anything. It's just that it's more active when you have no stress. All right, so yeah, that's what's going to actually help secrete parietal and chief cells. And what else is going to help secrete parietal and chief cells components and substances is another hormone. What's that? Gastric. So two things stimulate those glands. There's always, with the digestive system, it's the nervous system that's influencing things, and the what? Hormones. So it's a nervous system activity feature and an endocrine feature for the controlling digestive system. Okay? Gastric, all right? Coming from G cells. If it's a hormone, is it being secreted into the lumen?
No, it's going into the blood.
To the body.
To the blood.
Oh, this is my class. Okay. Yes, that's how hormones are secreted. All right. So, and then that's the gastric phase there, right? With all that stuff happening, isn't it? Okay. So now we're going to have all of that kind go into the what? Intestine, is that right? Into the what? Intestine. Now let me ask you this. What is this guy, and this is one thing I don't like about our model here, but it is here on here. But this is the correct location as it relates to the stomach though. So I do like that part.
That's the pancreas.
But this is the pancreas, yeah. So this is the pancreas. Typically though, with the pancreas like right here, this is the pancreas. It's stuck on your posterior portion of the abdominal wall. So it's stuck back there. See how I can lift up the stomach?
Yeah.
I usually can't do that with this, so that's what's not good about this model, okay? What your pancreas is stuck back here, I can't pull it out. You get it? So that's what's called retroperitoneum. The pancreas is retroperitoneum. Why is that so significant, and why am I saying that now for this length of time? Because clinically that's important. If somebody, typically alcoholics, okay? Typically alcoholics, not all alcoholics, but typically alcoholics, they damage the pancreas.
Isn't the
And
stomach also?
so if you damage the pancreas, it's inflamed. What do you have with inflammation? The hallmarks. Swelling, redness, heat, and what? Pain. So where are they going to feel that pain? Here? In the anterior part?
They're going to
Back. So that's what I don't like about this. It's true. This model is true. Sorry. This model is more true because it's where? It's stuck in the back. It's stuck in the back. And when somebody has inflammation of pancreas, they have what kind of pain? Back pain. Okay.
Isn't the
So,
stomach?
what? Yeah?
Doesn't apply to kidneys too?
That applies to kidney as well. So those are retroperitoneal structures. That's urinary, so that's why I didn't. But yeah, that's a retroperitoneal structure. Both of those are retroperitoneal. Kidney and your what? Pancreas. And there are some other digestive system structures that are retroperitoneal. Stuck in the posterior abdominal wall. Got it? All right, now, that's going to let contents, the pancreas will let contents out into the what? Into the what? Duodenum. First part of the what? Intestine. First part of the small intestine is called the what? What's the second part?
No,
And jejunum has to be the longest part. So ileum is what? Next. Okay, so do them in order again. It's duodenum, then what? Jejunum. Then what? Okay. And that's where most of your absorption occurs, there. With the small intestine, large intestine absorbs too, but most of your absorption happens where? With the small intestine, okay? And so the first part of the duodenum is very important because everything that's secreted from our pancreas and from our, what's our other associated accessory digestive structure?
Liver.
What we call those is accessory digestive system organs. Your pancreas and your what? Liver. All right, so this is your liver, where it's located. If you're doing exams for a patient and you want to feel for it, if it's too big, you go to the what quadrant? Right what? Upper quadrant. You press down, you feel right here. If it's a big one, you'll feel it a little further down than what it's supposed to be. Okay? So this is when you feel for the liver. Okay? And this is the liver, which will produce substances and secrete it into the duodenum. The pancreas secretes substances and secretes it into the what? Duodenum. So let me repeat. make sure we're clear that substances that come from the what? 2 accessory organs, they're called the what? Pancreas and the liver. They secrete their substances into the what? The duodenum. Okay. And now, you can tell me, what are those substances that the pancreas secretes?
All the enzymes.
We call them pancreatic enzymes. Isn't that right? What's the one that's called, what do we call the one that's going to actually do chemical digestion for carbohydrates?
The amylase.
Pancreatic what? Amylase. Miss Magnus, what's the one that's going to do chemical digestion for breaking down lipids? Chemical digestion for lipids. Lipase. Pancreatic lipase. Right? What's the one that's going to break down, you ready? For the ones that break down proteins chemically. Pepsin? She's right? Pepsin?
No.
Trypsin. And there's another one too, right? Trypsin. You got chymotrypsin. You got carboxypeptidase. All of those come from the what? Pancreas. Right? Now, how does trypsin, does it come from the pancreas as trypsin?
No. It's trypsin.
It comes out as what? Trypsinogen. How does it get activated in the actual duodenum?
By combining with the hybrid.
What's that enzyme called?
Border.
On the brush board.
Yeah.
There, along the lining of your intestine are plenty of secretory cells, right? And they have enzymes stuck right on the apical surface of those, what, simple columnar cells.
Yeah.
A microvilli right there. That's called the brush border. And that's that enzyme called what?
Kinase.
So once, and it's good. See, it's not in the center of the lumen. So how would your actual trypsinogen be able to hit that enzyme? How would it?
It binds.
Only if your chyme is being what? Mixed. And what's process make sure that you get good mixed segmentation. That's right.
What's the
All right.
enzyme again?
The enzyme called intro what?
Kinase.
And
no,
that's
it binds to with what?
trypsinogen. So trypsin does the job, but it's inactive first.
Yeah.
And we call those zymogens that are inactive. The O gen at the end means they're inactive. All right? So enterokinase will then what? Activate trypsinogen to trypsin. Trypsin will then activate chymotrypsinogen to chymotrypsin. And trypsin can also activate procarboxypeptidase to carboxypeptidase. Right? And now you can get your proteins chemically digested, right? Now, right? Oh, don't forget your what? Your deoxynucleases and your ribonucleases. What are they going to chemically digest?
Nucleotide.
Your RNA and DNA. To what? What's the monomers?
Nucleic
Nucleic
acids.
acids. All right, so now pancreas secretes all that. All right, so that's where most chemical digestion occurs in the intestinal phase because of that. That's how important the pancreas is. Okay, and we'll talk about later in chapter for endocrine, the endocrine function of it, because it has an endocrine function with insulin. All right. Now, what about our actual hormone that's going to make those enzymes come out? What's that hormone called that makes all those pancreas? What do they call? Oh, secretin's the one that makes the pancreatic enzymes come
No,
out?
it's the CK.
Thank you.
CK.
Don't get them mixed up. This is our time to make sure you don't. CCK is the one. That's the hormone that goes to the pancreas and causes all the pancreatic enzymes to come out.
What's this? What cell is this secreted by?
Huh? I'm going to get to that one in a
CCK?
second. Yeah. But CCK is called cholecystokinin. For short, we say CCK. And that's what causes all those pancreatic enzymes to do what? Because secreted out of the pancreas. Okay? It's under the command of who? CCK. And then, what else does CCK do?
It goes to the liver.
Goes to the what part? Gall.
The gallbladder.
What's this right here? That's the gallbladder. Okay? Women who are over 40, a little overweight, huge stones in there, right? Huge stones. So as soon as you eat lipids, right? The CCK goes to that gallbladder wall and causes what's in that wall to contract, which is smooth muscle. And now we think you have a big old what? Hard gallstone in there. And now that wall keeps contracting. What's going to happen to that wall? All that friction?
gonna tear.
inflammation, right? So is that what? Inflammation, what does that cause? Redness,
Pain.
swelling, heat, and what?
Pain.
Pain, a lot of pain. Every time they eat lipids. And why is it that CCK is causing this to contract when you eat lipids?
So that
So that it can release
So
the
that
bile.
bile can come out.
Come out.
So what is CCK doing with the pancreas? Causing all the pancreatic what?
Enzymes.
Enzymes to come out. But what is it that your actual CCK is doing with the gallbladder? Causing what to be secreted?
Bile.
By causing the gallbladder wall to contract, pushes it out. Now all that bile ends up in the what?
Duodenum.
Duodenum. And now that bile, as it relates to our experiment we just did, is going to do what?
Emulsification.
And what do we say emulsification is, Ms. Bozier?
Set up.
Break down the lipids chemically, right?
Mechanically.
Mechanically.
No, mechanically.
Mechanically. So it's not complete yet. Digestion of lipids is not complete yet when bile reacts with the lipid. Is that right?
Yeah.
That process is called emulsification. It's mechanically digesting our lipids. It's needed. It's needed before what happens? Chemical digestion of lipids. Okay? So now after emulsification happens, now your pancreatic what can act on the lipid?
Lipase.
Lipase. And form what monomer?
Fatty acids.
Fatty acid. Okay? Okay? Anybody who's going a little slow with this, a lot of work to do. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay? All right. That's what this is for.
Is that it?
Okay, so now this is the intestinal phase. Two major hormones involved. CCK. You see how important CCK was? What can it also do when it goes up to the brain?
Tell it that it's hungry.
That you're hungry?
No,
No, tell you that you're what? Not hungry, which is called what? What do we know that word is called? Satiety. So satiety. And that means, yes. So what does he come out? He comes out when you eat a lot of what? Proteins and lipids. I'll put emphasis on proteins and lipids. So you don't have to eat lipids to feel full. You can eat a lot of what to feel full?
Protein.
Okay, it's because of CCK. So now, right? What's our other hormone that's in that intestinal phase?
Secretin.
It starts with S? Secretin. CCK comes from CCK cells. Secretin comes from S cells lining the intestine, the duodenal lumen, right? And now, what do they do? What does secretin do?
Some with the
It
hydrogen.
secretes. It does.
Yeah.
It goes to the pancreas.
It goes to the pancreas and causes what to be secreted?
Bicarbonate.
Bicarbonate. So CCK is causing what to be secreted from the pancreas? Pancreatic enzyme, CCK. But what's secreting is causing what to be secreted?
Bicarbonate.
Why is that important?
To pick up the hydrogen ion.
Why are the hydrogen levels high in the duodenum as soon as the chyme comes in?
Because of
what
the
did it
gastric
do?
juice. The gastric
Because
juice.
it came in the stomach.
Yeah.
And the stomach is very acidic, right? Because what cells made it acidic? The stomach line, the stomach lumen. What made
The
this
G
chyme
cells.
acidic? What cells?
The parietal cell.
The parietal cells. You see how I keep trying to see if you remember those things? So basically, chyme that's acidic is coming into the duodenum, and secretin is going to take care of that by causing the pancreas to secrete the bicarb. And what's the bicarb doing with the hydrogen?
It's picking it up.
Now your duodenum's okay with pH. Now that lumen, that tunica mucosa is fine. All right. If that doesn't happen, what's going to be created? Ulcers. Okay. What's going to be created is what?
Ulcers.
Okay. So now, what do we have? We have a good mixture now happening. We have segmentation occurring, a good mixture. We have propelling occurring, don't we? All right. Which is called what? When your actual chyme is propelled, peristalsis. Okay. So your tunica muscularis is handling segmentation and what? Peristalsis. Okay. All right. And so we're basically in the intestine now with chyme. It goes all the way through small intestine, duodenum to jejunum to ileum. All right. And then we get to our actual. I do want to make note of this one though. What's covering this actual what intestine? All this small intestine. You see, I can pick it up like that
Ew.
because it's not retroperitoneal. it's just stuck in the peritoneal cavity there. And that's what surgeons do. They pick through, look at each part,
Is that how it
make sure there's no problems, like that, okay. All right, and then they put it back in.
This is smooth, right?
Now, what's actually covering it like a blanket is an extension of the peritoneum. There are extensions of peritoneum, and they have plenty of what in there? Nerves and blood vessels. And so, blood vessels that are actually going to pick up all of those monomers that they took in. Fatty acids and stuff. And when you put a whole bunch of fatty acids together, right, and with glycerol, what do you get? Triglyceride, right? And then it becomes stored in some of these extensions, and this is one of them. This one right here that serves to be a blanket over top of the small intestine, this is called the greater omentum. What's it called?
Greater.
Greater omentum.
Greater omentum.
Greater omentum.
Omentum. Greater omentum.
O-M-E-N-T-U-M. And so, what color is it?
Yellow.
Why?
It's the fats.
See what I just told you? It's got all those blood vessels there, taking in all that stuff you just took in, consumed. Fatty acids especially, and they stay there. As the what? Polymer form. Triglycerides, and that's the beer belly. You see, that's what I'm trying to work off every time I wear it. That's the beer belly. And because some people have, it's not as thin as this. Right? Mine is not as this thin. Okay? I'm trying my hardest to get this back, okay? But this is, you can't see this yet. I'm working on getting rid of this. This is the greater omentum, and it's an extension of the peritoneum, okay? Extension of the peritoneum. And so, okay. Greater omentum, there is a lesser omentum that they don't have in this model here, but the lesser omentum goes from the, okay, the lesser omentum goes from the actual lesser curvature to the actual liver. So it's right here. All right, that's that. All right. By the way, what's that extension of the peritoneum that divides the liver into the right lobe and the left lobe?
Oh, I forgot.
It's called the falciform ligament. The falciform ligament. Here it is right here, you see? The liver has this actual extension of the what? Peritoneum, dividing it into what lobes? Right and what? Left lobe. Right and left lobe. All right.
What's the question?
And so basically, those are your extensions of your peritoneum that I want you to know. Your greater omentum, okay? Your lesser omentum, right? And your falciform ligament, okay? It doesn't show it here as well, but this it does, beautiful. Not really, it doesn't show that the greater omentum is coming from the what? Greater curvature of the stomach. And then it eventually folds over and then attaches to the transverse colon. Okay? So this is the transverse colon here. And so what are they doing then? It's attaching the stomach to the what? The large intestine. You see? So what your peritoneal folds do greatly is attach your peritoneal organs to each other, because as you can see, they're very what? Loose. So that's good they have something attaching them to each other, okay? And that's your what we call your peritoneal folds. Huh?
Like during surgery, right? Individuals who go in for surgery.
Say it again?
Remove people who go in for surgery to remove that. Do they totally get rid of that?
Get rid of what?
The omentum, they don't want it.
The omentum? No, they don't usually get rid of it. They usually get rid of some. You don't have cancer or anything related to this as much as you do the intestine. So they'll have to resect parts out. Let's say the actual cancer's here. They resect that, right?
No, I'm not talking in the case of cancer.
That's a
I'm talking,
collective, huh?
I'm not
Like
talking in the
cosmetic
case of cancer.
surgery, you mean?
Yeah, something like that. When individuals who want to.
I haven't heard of that.
Like people go
Not
way-
for the greater omentum. But other subcute issues, maybe some subcutaneous fat, people would try to get rid of that, right?
Oh, okay.
So that's,
They don't get.
but not so much the greater omentum. It's a special place where very important arteries are and nerves not really messed with surgically. The omentum. Okay. All right, very good. So now, right, we go to the end of the actual small intestine, and then we get the part that's actually stuck back here in the retroperitoneum area, and that's the ascending colon. Right? So once we go up to the end here of the ileum, we get to the cecum. What's the first part of the large intestine? Cecum. And then what's after that? Ascending colon. It's stuck back here. Oh, my goodness. Okay. It's stuck back here in the retroperitoneum. See that? It's stuck back there. Right? And then we have our what? Transverse colon, which is not stuck. Okay? So this is attached to the transverse colon. I can move that around a little bit more. Okay? And then transverse colon goes to the what? Descending, which is also stuck back there too. Descending colon. Then you have your what? Like a snake, your sigmoid colon. Then you have your what? Rectum. Okay, and then anus. Okay. What's going on with our sphincters here? What do we have? Your internal anal sphincter
And the external.
and your external.
And one is voluntary.
Right? Which one is voluntary?
The external.
External, because it has what kind of muscle?
Skeletal.
Skeletal muscle. And what's your actual internal sphincter have? What kind of muscle? You can't control that. Okay? So as soon as your rectum kind of piles up with all the what?
Feces.
Feces. Yeah. So when we went from chyme to feces when?
In
4
the
to 8 hours after.
It's hours really. It's not that as soon as your chyme hits the large intestine it becomes feces. You have chyme in your large intestine as well. It's just over time, about 2 to 3 hours to about 8 hours. Now through processing, now you get your feces. Okay? Some things need to be added. Some components that bacteria created for you. That's going to make it even more like what we call what? Feces. Okay? All right? And don't forget what's special about large intestine here. What is this actual, when our longitudinal muscle just decimates to become this structure here? What's that called? That structure here?
I think you have
Just
it
a
pulled up.
feature of your large intestine. It's called the what? Tinea coli. Tinea what? Coli. Tinea coli. Yeah. And all it is just a remnants, if you will, of longitudinal smooth muscle. Longitudinal smooth muscle there. Okay. And then basically, what do we have here? These pouches here that's created. It's called hostra. Hostra, these little pouches. These are features of our large intestine, and distinguishing it from the small intestine. Okay.
So the features that we heard for the first time today, do we need to know them for the lab exam?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You have the Tinea coli and hostra, and I've talked about it before. Yeah. I mean, it's with that assignment as well. Tinea coli and hostra. And so basically, all right, turn off the videos.